Hey guys, welcome to Talking Strongman. Today's guest is Dale Mcpherson, the owner of 3D Strength. I'm representing with the t-shirt here. One of the best under 90 kilo strongmen in the world. Moving up to 105s now though, aren't you?
We're moving up, mate. I thought it was about time I tried to put some weight on for once and really push myself and get some weight on the bar and really like step up in competition in the sense of see what the whole world's about against international competitors in a 105 division especially. And I think it's going to be a great challenge and I can't wait.
You are without question I'm like Uncle Loz, and you're like my hyper nephew. When it comes to strongman, you're such a likable character. Particularly, I mean, for people that don't know who Dale is, he's a fantastic strongman. He's an incredible strongman coach. You've been involved in the sport for years and years, and we'll quickly go into your story because it is quite an interesting one. But you're such a likable person. Everyone that I talk to about you just loves your passion for the sport, and you know. People often come up to me and they go, "Oh, I'm 60 kilos, 5'8". Can I ever be like a strongman?" And it's at 6'2". I was probably about 120 kilos when I started strongman. It's hard for me to say, "Oh, it's like to give an honest opinion." But you were like an ant when you started, weren't you?
Yeah, I was literally so. It all goes back to when I was in school and stuff, and I went through a bit of a stage where I was quite chubby, and I developed an eating disorder when I was younger. So it basically just evolved to the point where my parents were really worried, and I'd just go out running all the time, and I'd just do press ups and sit ups in the front room. My dad was like, "You need to calm down, son. You need to eat a little bit of food of it." I was like, "No, Dad, I need to lose some weight. I need to lose some weight." And then when I started college, I was turning 17. I was actually 6 stone. That's how much I weighed. I was 6 stone. And
What age were you then?
17.
70. You were 6 stone. So what's 6 stone in kilos and pounds for American fans? 6 stone is about 80, what's that, 80, 90 pounds?
Yeah, not a lot.
Not a lot at all.
About the size of like a model, a super skinny model. And like, bear in mind, I'm 5'6". So my best friend Dan, when I was in school, he started. He was always a big lad in school, and we always got on. And he was playing rugby, and we were at college, and he just out of nowhere was like, "Oh, do you fancy coming to play rugby?" And I was like, "Dan, are you serious?" So I started playing rugby. You should have seen the looks I got when I first walked in. And there was these guys. When you play Colts rugby, which is literally like from leaving school to leaving college, that sort of age, so up to like 16 to 19, for example. I was playing rugby, and then from playing rugby, Dan basically grabbed hold of me and said, "Right, we need to start going to the gym, and we need to start going to eating some food." So Dan sat me down and basically says, "Right." Dan had been training quite a few years at the leisure centre and stuff, but he was a big lad. So when Dan was like 19, for example, Dan could squat 300 kilo for reps with no wraps and no belt. He could overhead press 150 for like 10 reps. He was a monster. So when he used to walk in the gym with me, people were like, "What's going on here?" And then so basically, this is what our diet was. So I went from 6 stone up to 14 and a half or 15 within 2 years. So I basically doubled my body weight and more. And this was the diet, and it's no joke either. This is serious. And Dan he didn't used to make me eat. I did it because I wanted to do it. And I used to start training with him. And it was basically 8 tins of tuna a day. Because back then, Netto was open. You used to be able to get a tin of tuna for 25 pence.
Yeah.
So we were on a college kids diet. So it was 8 tins of tuna a day, 8 pints of milk, a loaf of bread, 4 packs of Uncle Ben's, a full tub of peanut butter, and a punnet of bananas every day for 2 years. And literally, it went from me not being able to bench 40 kilo to within 2 years, I was up to benching 140. I was power cleaning 120, 130 kilos. I was push pressing like 100, 120 kilos and deadlifting. I was always very good at deadlifting. So even when I was like at my lightest, so even when I was like 6 stone, I'd still pick up 140 kilos, no problem, weirdly enough. So strength was always something which I never lacked in the sense of what I weighed. And I always had this, as soon as I started training, I got the bug for it, literally like that. Always, I need to do more. I need to add 2 kilos to this. I need to add a rep to this. And me and him for a couple of years followed like a HIIT program. So it'd always be 1 set to failure, chest, 1 set to failure, back, legs. And it was having him there in my corner from the start was a very, very good base. And he's still behind me to this day.
It definitely helps when you get someone that can sort of push it. They don't need to be like the greatest coach or anything like that. But I remember when I started, I had this older guy in the gym. He was a guy called Craig, actually. He did a little bit of powerlifting, a little bit of bodybuilding, and he just beasted me through these workouts. And you know, as a new kid to it, you don't have a clue what you're doing. But just giving yourself those little targets and trying to beat things, and you know, the typical, well, not typical, but the budget diet, if you like, that you're on. We all remember those days of trying to just get as much food in as we can that was as cheap as possible.
Dairy and gluten.
You try and avoid all that kind of stuff these days. And 8 tins of tuna, you get like people going nuts at you if you try and do that now.
Well, the key is to the 8 tins of tuna a day is we used to split it up into 4 meals. So we had 2 tins of tuna with every meal, packet of rice, 2 bananas, and 5 scoops of tablespoons of peanut butter, and 2 pints of milk. And what you used to do is we used to get some dilute. We used to have a litre of water with every single meal we had as well. It was this weird routine. We used to play in our PlayStation games, go to college, I'd go to work, and then we'd just go to the gym. And it was literally, you'd put 2 tablespoons of tuna in your mouth, down some water, and you'd be like, oh, and you'd go on, you've got to do another one. And we'd be like, sat there, each other. Do you know what I mean? But when you're like 17, 18, you think it's funny. Yeah. You don't have a clue. It's hilarious. No. But you think like 11 years ago, Lod's coming up now, we didn't have this kind of stuff really readily available to us. You know, so like, I didn't know anything about nutrition. I just went on Sugden Barbell, went on YouTube, watched Ronnie Coleman, seeing what he ate and all that sort of stuff. That's what was available to us. So we just blindsided it.
When I started, there wasn't even any of that. I used to buy Flex magazine and just go through the magazines. Oh, Ronnie Coleman's workout, or you know, Dorian Yates's workout, Arnold's workout, and just, you know, I didn't really even know about ways to train for actual strength or for strongman. It was just, what's the biggest bodybuilders doing? They're killing themselves in the gym. That's what I'm going to do, and eat a load of food and just get as big and strong as I can.
Ronnie Coleman can leg press 1,000 kilos, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's the best thing I've ever seen. What does he eat? What a grits.
I actually did a Ronnie Coleman diet for a little while during my career. I was literally oven chips and chicken with some ketchup on. Nice. It was great. I got strong.
So it's literally like processed food heaven, isn't it? Yeah. It's amazing.
It's amazing when you look back at what we did to start with. And then, you know, because both of us now work as coaches, we train a lot of people. And I look back at my early days and I cringe sometimes. I really do. But I sort of look back with a little bit of a fond smile, and I just love the naivety and the keenness that we had. And you still come across as having that keenness now.
I've never, ever, ever lost it. And I think the moment I do lose that is the time that I will never do anything ever again. I don't think I will lose it. Do you know what it is? When you grow up with people around you saying you'll never do anything, that was always a big thing. I've never been one to let people get in my head, but when you hear the whispers behind your back and people saying, you can never do this, you can never do that, he'll never do that, that always stays in my mind. So for me, I would never be that person to say to someone, you can't do it, because in my eyes, you can do absolutely anything if you actually really, really, really want to, Loz. And like, at the end of the day, I've had some really, really rough times in the sense of like injuries and stuff, just by, like you said there, being a bit naive, being a bit stupid and not knowing how to do exercises properly, not recovering properly. But it's all part of the journey of it. So there's not one thing in my strongman journey that I ever regret at all. I'll be absolutely honest with you.
I absolutely love this. Absolutely love it, because I'm gonna hold on to this kind of little area for and use this nugget of information and take yourself as a perfect example. You'll have it as well. I have it, you know, with clients. You see it online, with social media and stuff like that. For me, strongman has always been about having fun, and damn right, I want to be the best that I can possibly be. I want to, you know, when I started this, it was in the back of my head. I was like, I'm going to be the world's strongest man, you know. But there's too many people now not enjoying the sport. They kind of all want to be the next Eddie Hall or whoever, Thor Bjornsson, Brian Shaw, whatever it might be, but they're not focusing on their own journey and enjoying it. They're just disappointed because they feel they're not performing at a high enough level, when in reality, they're doing amazing. I know guys lifting 180 kilo logs that are disappointed in themselves. They think they're failures because someone else is doing 200 or 220 or whatever it might be. You've got to do this sport because you enjoy it. And then when you get those knockbacks, and you and me have both had plenty, you know, and I've people are probably bored of hearing Mike and of me rattling off the knockbacks I've had. I'll let you tell some of yours in a bit, but you have to enjoy this, and you've got to use those challenges and overcome them, and use that as experience, and use it as a challenge to better yourself and become stronger and become more knowledgeable, not just get upset every time something doesn't go your way. Because you look at any of the top guys, absolutely any of them, they've all had knockbacks, they've all had disappointments, but they keep going, they keep working hard. You're a fine example of that, and someone that, you know, I started strongman at 120 kilos. I was a big, naturally big, powerful, athletic guy. You were 60 kilos. And you're
I think
now...
I took it on the chin in the sense of like, right, so look at my frame, look what I've been given. And I always thought, right, I'm never going to be Terry Hollands. I always knew that in my head. I thought, right, but what can I be? I can be the best version of myself possible. So where do I look? Right, so when I first started doing strongman, I was training with Gaz Gardner, and I thought,
was Gary 6'9", 6'10"?
I was like, right, I'm never going to be you, Gary. So I was like, but I was looking, I'd go, right, so there's me, Gary, and Donna training. And I used to go, Donna's phenomenal. Gary's absolutely a brilliant British strongman who's done very well for himself. I've got a good base of people around me, so I need to learn as much of these guys as I can. And that's when it started playing in my mind, when I'd see Gary doing something. He'd pick up a stone a certain way, he'd pick up a sandbag a certain way, he'd do a log a certain way, and I'd go, I can't do it like that. So how can I do it? And I think that's where I always knew where I always wanted to help come in. So not only I wanted to help myself, but I'd always evaluate what others were doing around me to sort of make myself a little bit better. So Gary's got his hands there, right? I need to push them a little bit further back. So when I clean the log, blah, 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 it ends up in a certain position. That automatically comes in my head without me even thinking about doing it.
Yeah.
So, and also I looked at it in the thought of, right, so we've got the 80s classes, we've got the 90s classes. And I thought, right, who are the good guys in these classes? And this is where people go wrong. They'll always look at the world record straight away, and you go, bro, come on, right, get some experience, get you trained up to scratch. Right, you've just done your first ever 200 kilo deadlift, for example. Yeah, but the world record for my weight category is 300, and you're like, mate, you're doing absolutely phenomenal. You are. If you are making steady progress and you're staying as injury-free as possible, just carry on your journey. Like, I was laughing the other day. I watched a log of myself a few years ago, and it was my first ever 140 kilo log in the gym. And I looked at my face when I'd done it, and it was the same day Donna had done her first, like, 100 kilo log. And I sent her it, and I was like, do you remember these days, Donna? She was like, yeah, this is absolutely amazing. And I remember pressing it, and I was like, yes. And it wasn't like, I am the best. It was like, I feel great. You know what I mean? I've done 140 kilos in a log, and it was amazing. And I look back then, and I see where I am now, and I just think, you know what? In 7 years, you've added 30 kilos to that. And you go, you could look at the negative side of that and go, oh, that's not very good. But you go, come on. You've added that much onto a lift.
I've seen people, oh, you only added 30, 40, 50 kilos onto a lift. I'd expect it to be a lot more. Not everyone can be a 500 kilo deadlifter.
No.
You know, I'm still amazed that two men have done it. It's such a humongous feat of strength. The things that certain people do is mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's truly amazing. But it's just like saying, you know, how many people have run a sub 9.7, you know, second 100-meter sprint? It's such incredible feats of strength by the absolute best in the world, you know, at that time. If you can get, I mean, I did, you know, genuinely for me, I guess I'm sort of slightly older generation, so it was more about winning titles than breaking records. I know records have become a lot more important
now. It's a bit different at the moment, I
think. If I sat there always thinking, you know, oh, I'm only a 230 kilo bench presser, Julius Maddox just benched 350, I'm shit. You know, the reality is I could beat Julius on 10 different, you know, other things. But people that focus on that one thing, they let that negative thought spiral, and then suddenly I'm no good, I'm useless, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, you training. I remember talking to you actually on your channel when we were having a discussion about training with Gary. And when you were starting, you know, Gary was a great stone lifter. He was a great athlete, but you would be better, or at least matching him on things like the Viking press. And you're giving away what, 60 kilos to Gary, maybe more?
Probably more at the time. Bloody hell, yeah.
You know, and
my first powerlifting competition I ever did. It was my first ever competition, and it was absolutely mint because I entered a powerlifting competition because I seen it on the internet. It was the Y in the like Northeast something, whatever it was. It was like a federation around mine, and I went. I remember going to one of the lads who was in the gym, Steen. I still train him to this day, like 10 years later. And I was like, Steen, do you fancy doing a powerlifting competition? He went, I've never done a competition before. I went, I haven't. I said, if you want, I've never trained anyone. Can I train you for 2 months for free and just see how it goes? And now Steve's one of my best friends from this ever. Went to the competition, fucking got like a match, like a British junior bench press record and the deadlift record at like 76 kilos I was. And like, still to this day, I look back at that first competition and I laugh at myself. I've got my singlet on. Back in those days, I didn't know what talc was on your legs. I had a pair of Adidas Gazelles on. didn't use chalk. I just went in barehanded. Bench press, just flat back, and just sort of went, right, make sure when you unrack it, you've got to pause it on your chest. That's what I've been watching everyone else do. And you press it on. Because I was in a bodybuilding gym at this time before I had my gym. And it was like, I went into that naive and blindsided. I wasn't bothered about doing anything. I just wanted to see what a competition was like and end up winning it. And I won the overall, like, Wilks thing, which, like, I'm not really a thingy of anyways. I'm not like that. But for me, it was like, well, I've got a trophy and I've been given a 9-pack of Metrex protein. I was absolutely over the moon. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is
and
great.
Then a month later, I'd done Yorkshire's strongest novice in a heavyweight category at like sub 80 kilos. And I was against some big dudes. And I ended up coming fourth in it. And I was like, God, this is easy. You know what I mean? Like, it was not. But
No.
back then though, mate, like novice competitions, it was like 260 deadlift for reps, 350 tire. It was a 130 or 140 Viking press, 120 Atlas stone to height, heavy arm over arm. So for like a novice competition, I think that's quite heavy for what it was. Yeah. You know what I mean? So back then I was getting stuck into them. And because I didn't really have any boundaries, and I'm still the same now, I don't know what a boundary is. Like in my head, I'll think, I'll definitely log press 200 kilo one day. I know I will. Like, that's how I think. It's not being cocky or egotistical. I just automatically think, oh yeah, I'll do it one day. It's going to happen.
Happen. Just quickly tell people your numbers, because I mean your log is phenomenal anyway. You've at 90 kilo. Go on, tell us your best numbers.
170 log. That's something which has took a lot of time to build up with technique and practice, with a few older injuries, have sustained and stuff like that. But with me on a log presses, if I'm having a good day overhead, I'm having a good day. So like I can push press 180 kilos. I've axled 170 kilos floor to overhead. I've logged 170, but then I can have some days like any of us where 120 just swallows me up. And that's just how it happens sometimes. And that sort of thing. Squat 340, which is generally my weaker lift.
Is that raw, like knee wraps and a belt?
It's just knee wraps and a belt, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, squat like 8 plates. I can deadlift. I'm max deadlifting over a year. Pulled a 380 deadlift at 90 kilos. And then like
that's massive. 380 at 90 kilos.
Yeah, bench pressed 5 plates, but I've only ever done that once in my life when I was having a baller of a day. Like, do you know when you have one of those days, Loz, where you're like everything's butter? Because I remember on my warm-ups, I took 200 for 2, and I knew I could have got 5. I knew I could have got 5.
Well, as embarrassing as this is for me, I'm only 10 kilos ahead of you on the bench press.
But
it shows how strong you are.
Those things on an incline and a flat, I've always enjoyed, but I've always ended up tweaking myself. I've always had little shoulder injuries or pec injuries, so I tend to stay away from super heavy bench pressing. I prefer dumbbell work. Sure. Honest with you. But that's just from my own personal injuries where I've got to be careful with it. But yeah, done that once as well, and that was pretty cool. But I've always been a very good static strongman, and I'm always my own worst critique when I say my moving events are not good enough in the sense of loading, sandbag throwing, Yorks and farmers. I'm decent at there, all right, but I just need that little bit extra, and that's why I'm taking this time off now to move to the 105s to make sure I'm more athletic. Do you know what I'm saying?
I've seen you doing a lot of like the footwork drills and the fitness stuff, and they're great though, aren't they?
Yeah. Do you know what I not enjoy the most? Once you get to about 3 or 4 weeks in, when your lungs stop burning.
Yeah.
Where you actually find yourself recovering. Like the other day, we set a little challenge, me and my mate who I trained with, it was basically 100 kilo sandbag, over 4 foot, 5 minutes on the clock. Let's see how many reps we can do. You know what I'm saying? It's just, by the end of it, you're like scooping it up, you're falling over, and then when the time goes, you're just like pumped up, but you feel great.
How much better is that stuff having a training partner though? That
good,
stuff,
solid, reliable training partners.
Yeah, that's something I always liked having a training partner for, was the stuff I don't like doing.
Totally agree. I've got a lad there called Scott, and Scott's not necessarily the best static strongman, but anything to do with moving kegs, sandbags, keg throwing, or tire flips and stuff like that, he's absolutely mental. What did he do one year? He done it in the Northern qualifier. It was on like it was like a 400 kilo tire. He got like 9 or 10 flips in a minute. He's ridiculous. So when I'm prepping for competitions, if I've got anything like that now, I'm always like, Scott, what are you doing at 11 o'clock? If you're off work, please come down here, because I know he's going to batter me. He'll absolutely hammer me, but it makes me like go, right, I can get an extra second out of here. If I'm 2 seconds behind Scott, I know I'm all right.
Yeah, definitely. Having those people around you that can push you that little bit harder, always a good thing.
I think, do you know what it is as well, though, Loz? I think it's not necessarily you've got to be around people that are generally stronger than you.
Not at all.
It's about the amount of effort people put in. If you're training with a guy who, I don't know, is 50-year-old and his 1 rep max on the deadlift is 180, but he's going for it. He's going for it. I'll stand there looking at it and I'll go, yeah, I'm feeling it today. Like, come on, you're pushing.
I think anyone that's watching, I'm sat here thinking, if we were closer, I'd be training with you all the time, because you can just see the energy is coming off you. I want to go and train now. Just talking, you get some people that drain you. They're around and they're telling you their problems, and they're walking in the gym. And I like to get in the gym. I don't want to know anything about what's going on in life. I want to get on, have some fun, beast each other, and walk out of there a sweaty mess, feeling like you've had a good time. And it goes back to, feeling like you've had some fun.
Me and Ben do it a lot when it's like, we'll set up some daft thing in between. Like, we might have just finished our main exercise, we've got assistant stuff to do. So like, some days I've done it where I've set like this dumbbell ladder up full of monster dumbbells, and we'll play like the chicken limbo over it and stuff in between event. We don't record it or anything. We just have a proper good laugh sometimes as well. Do you know what I mean? And we always have this thing in the summer. It's not a PB unless it's topless. That's the rule in our gym. So if it's over 15 degrees in the northeast of England, it's hot.
Yeah.
So tops are off. Tops are off. That's it. So we mean business. You know what I mean? I've had lads some days like walk out of the toilet with the mucky mop on the head, singing Shania Twain and stuff. Just carrying on. Things like that. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's hilarious.
It is. Honestly, you're very infectious with it. It's so good to see. I mean, we kind of joke around, like yourself, Donna Moore, and myself are like a triangle of strongman geeks. We kind of message each other a lot, and what's the answer to this? So you asked me the other day how high the stone height were at World's Strongest Man, and that's something I didn't know, because as a competitor, I know all about what's going on with other people, but I never cared about stuff like that. Is it something you're a lighter weight category athlete? Do you care about that kind of stuff? Do you need to know before a comp diameters of logs, height of everything? No,
I am for example, I'm a very much like, I will turn up and do my best to can on the equipment that's given to me. And I remember we had a good conversation about just general farmers walks, how like people get used to one set of farmers and they've got to be used to different diameters, and that what we spoke about, like the ones at Ultimate Strongman compared to the ones at Giants, for example. And so if you watch a lot of my training, some of my variation stuff is absolutely weird as out sometimes. So like, I'll train farmers sometimes with the normal farmers handles. So like, on a good day, I can work up to 160, 170 even. And some days I'll drop back down to 130s, 140s for speeds. Then I'll put some fat grips on. Then I'll do some single arm farmers. And I always like to mix it up like that. And not only with that, also with like deadlifts, people always ask me, say like, how do you have such a strong back and stuff? And it's like, it's not that I've necessarily got a really strong back, is that I always make sure I always train my core muscles. So like, for example, I do a lot of like isometric holds on my stomach, and also like overhead walks with logs, overhead walks with yokes, Zercher carries. I'm always doing something a little bit more functional, so my body's used to moving in weird directions. Because you know what it can be like at a competition. Sometimes you might need to run and pick something up, and you're at like a really awkward angle. Or you're getting tired on a log, and you've got to like fluff your clean a little bit to get one more rep out. I think when we train in strongman, you can't be too just stuck in the mud, in the sense of just being there's one way and there's one way only. You've got to find your way around things.
It's very true. I know some powerlifters that have come to strongman competitions, and you know as well as me, you could be doing a strongman competition anywhere. You get set up on. So I've done a squat, even at world's strongest man level. I did a squat on a slanted kind of surface.
Mm-hmm.
So you're squatting kind of like this.
Oh, it's mad.
And some of the powerlifters just couldn't get their head around it because they're so used to like perfect flooring, monolift, perfect squat bar. And in strongman, you do have to be able to adapt to things quite quickly.
Because you know, it's like if you're like a competition that's in a car park or something, you could have some plates which aren't calibrated, some are 18 and some are 23.
Sure.
So you're picking it up and you're like, this feels a little bit dodgy, but you just got to keep going, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just one of those things I think is strong, and that's what I always do love about it. It's the you don't know what's going to happen next. Or lads, unfortunately, the side of the yoke has snapped off. So we're going to put some duct tape on it and see what happens. I've had that happen to me, mate, before.
Yeah.
And I'd won the first two events, and I was last up on the yoke, and it was one of the side loaded yokes. And this is no joke. It was Bob Daglish's at the time. He duct taped the side of the weights onto the metal, and literally one side of the yoke and the weights were on the floor, even on the pickup, and I could not scrape it past even more. And they just zeroed me. I was like, are you joking? I went, everyone's done it. And then the last run, it snapped off. I said, so what am I supposed to do? Oh, we don't have another yoke, unfortunately. Oh, great. Brilliant. And I think you've got to learn to just actually let that go over your head sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, do you remember that year at Giants? I think it was not last Britons, the Britons before, when some of the lads were struggling on the frame. A lot of them were catching the floor on the frame carry. And it was like, sometimes these things happen.
Yeah.
I think it was you and Bishop who just absolutely flew with it.
Yeah, frame is one of those things. Like I know a lot of people on farmers, they like the farmers to tilt down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because if they tilt down, they can hit the ground and get stuck. Even in an indoors perfect conditions, and even then it can get stuck, and that's what happens to some guys. If you're outside on grass with farmers and you go down, you're going straight into that grass, not going anywhere. If the farmers tilt backwards, they will drag along the floor. So I've always kind of made sure that if they're going to tilt either way, that to tilt up at the front. But I know some people prefer them to tilt down because they feel like they can get that faster moving. But I'm always sort of aware of worst case scenario.
Of course.
But yeah, I was going to ask you, a lot of people now, I mean, because you just mentioned that you're a fan of the heavy stuff. You're a strong, you know, under 105, under 90 kilo strongman, strongman in general. I know you don't really use the weight category as an excuse, to be honest. I mean,
strong is strong to me, lads. Strong is strong.
Who's the strongest in the jungle? Yeah, exactly that. But what do you think of a lot of people now saying strongman's become too light, or there's not enough emphasis on heavy stuff, and it's just becoming a race?
I think if we're going to talk in the sense of the weight category stuff, one of the reasons why doing the 90s and that wasn't for me no more was because I'd seen some events where it was like 100 or 110 kilo axle clean and press and a 180 squat for reps and that. And it was getting to the point where I didn't have the drive to train for that, because I thought, not that I think I'm too strong for it. It was just literally like, I'm not putting my body through this all the time to train for that. I need a challenge. Like, I want to see some events where I look at it and I go, oh, God, that's going to take some training for. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to have to put my finger out and get this done. So, for example, like at the Arnolds last year, it was like, was it two? I think it was, the American weights are weird, aren't they? Because they're in pounds. So it was
pounds.
Between 285 and 290 axle, 3 reps straight into like a 300 kilo stiff bar deadlift for reps straight after. So you had to do 3, I jumped straight on. And I won that event and things like that. I look at it and I go, ooh, I can't wait to take you on. You know what I mean? The funny story, because it was me and there's a guy called Antoine from Canada. He's JF's friend. And I remember we were just getting warmed up and we were just getting ready to go on. And he looked at me and went, Dale, you forgot your belt. And I went, I don't wear a belt. And he went, oh, you stupid. And I went, no, mate. I went, honestly, I don't. And he just shook his head at me, thought I was an idiot. And I went out and afterwards he went, I don't understand this. He went crazy. And I was going, I'm fine. And Aaron Scarborough was the referee. Do you know Aaron, who runs Arnolds Australia?
I do, yep.
And he come over to me and he was my referee. He went, that's the best thing I've seen all weekend. He went, I couldn't believe it. We all thought you were crazy.
Aaron makes some awesome kit.
He is a top bloke.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He runs an awesome comp as well.
I'd love to go over there. It's one of the few countries I've not been lucky enough to go to. I definitely, once all this kind of lockdown and everything is sorted, I want to get out there and go over to the Australian Arnolds because it looks really cool.
Mate, I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed that just as much as the Arnolds Columbus. It's phenomenal because it has pro raw there and stuff as well. It's got all like the mass wrestling, it's got all the CrossFit, it's got all the bodybuilding side of things. But
it's a huge event. Yeah,
the strongman area at the Arnolds Australia is phenomenal because the first time when I went over there and done it, it was like Rongo was there, Belsac was there, JF, Lissus, Terry, and it was the year they done the tank pull, the heavyweight.
Oh yeah.
Quite cool because we were on the same day at the same time as the heavyweights and we went on after them. And the funny story about all this was I ended up in the so all you guys are getting warmed up and you've got your food, you've got your buffet. And I seen all the weight category competitors they're all in the stands and that. And I thought, what's going on behind that curtain there? In my bag, I was by myself. And I just seen all the pros warming up, Bruno and all them. And I thought, yeah, I'll just put my bag down and see what happens. So I just got myself a seat next to Dimitar Savatinov.
Yeah.
I just sat there and I thought, someone's surely going to say something to me here. And then a couple of hours passed, done a couple of events, and I was like, this is all right. So I just started helping myself to the buffet. All the lads, I had a bit of crack with Martins. I was like, I'm going to beat you on the squat. And then I remember I didn't beat him on the squat. He got more reps than me, and he come back and he went, how many reps did you get? I went, 5. He went, I got 9. I was like, so it was like that all day. And I was just, honestly, it was class. I just managed to wiggle my way in, just sit with all the pros all day. So I done well in the competition. I podiumed and I got to spend the day with all the pros. But because I've been around them kind of guys and yourself and all that, I see the other side of it where we're all just normal guys all in the same sport to me.
That is exactly it. I think we are just normal guys, you know. We're guys that like lifting shit, you know, and you know, we happen to be very, very good at what we do, but we are, you know, for the majority, just normal dudes, like a good laugh. Well, there's always banter at competitions, isn't there? You know, most of the guys get on very, very well. That's not to say we don't all want to kick each other's ass when it comes to...
That's different. That's competition mode.
Yeah, but beforehand and afterwards, I think the majority of the guys are cool. They're good lads, you know, down to earth. And they'll support you as well, even though they want to beat you. You know, they'll share training tips. We'll talk to each other and share ideas and suggest things and try and kind of, you know, help each other get better. And I think that's only a good thing.
At Arnold's Europe as well was a similar situation. I competed. That's when Aaron come with me. He was competing, but the thing what I loved about that was Aaron come 5 hours early before his even pro show started to come and stand with me all day. Chalk.
So Aaron Page you're talking about.
Page, of course,
Excellent.
And then he stood with me all day with that. And it was funny because the day beforehand, I seen him walking up and down and I was mooching about and I went, me and him have got a mutual friend called Lee Forbuster. And we looked at each other, but we'd never properly met before. And I looked at him and I went, do I say hello? And then so what I done was I just went on my phone about 10 minutes later and I sent him a message. Now and Aaron, I said, it's Dale, Lee's our friend. I says, what are you doing after this? Do you want to go and get some food? And he went, oh my God, I thought it was you, but I didn't know what to say because I felt a bit awkward. So we just went, oh, you can eat buffet. Sat down, and then the next day, before we left, he went, text me in the morning, let me know what time it is. And he just come with me in the morning, helped me all day, and I helped him for the rest of the day and all that sort of stuff. And I got a brother for life there, do you know what I mean? Because he didn't have to do that. Do you know what I mean? And he was keeping me right. I was keeping him right, and we were like, I've got a picture of me and him which I'll always cherish, where he's just done the he just finished the York, and he was absolutely blowing, and he's bent over going, and having his ear going, "Go on, son, well done, it's well done," like that. And I absolutely love it. It's like a proper, that's a photo I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life, that one.
Aaron was one of those guys, like, once you were his friend, that was it. You're friends for life with him. And, you ended up coaching him, didn't you?
Yeah, mate, Aaron was a pleasure to work with. He was a funny one to coach because he was very cheeky. Like, I remember the first time I put pull-ups in his program, for example. What are you going on about? I can't do pull-ups. So what I do, about 2 weeks earlier, he'd been messing about in the gym doing them. Do you know when they spin upside down and hold themselves upside down on the?
Yeah.
And there was a picture of him doing that in a video. So I screenshot the picture and put it in the WhatsApp, and I went, "What is this, Aaron?" And then he sent me a SpongeBob meme back saying, "This is me doing pull-ups." 30 minutes later.
That's brilliant.
So daft little things like that, he was really funny. Or like if he hit a top single which we planned and he was dead excited, he'd bring me up going, "Dale, yeah, I've only went and done it. Do you want to see how fast this is? Should we go heavy?" And I go, "No." And he goes,
Yeah.
"Whatever."
The stupid thing is, and this, I mean, Aaron is no different. He was no different to the rest of us. And like I've already mentioned, you're a great coach. I do a lot of coaching. When it comes to, and Aaron was a coach as well. Aaron coached a lot of people. So this is kind of my point. When we're doing it ourselves, that knowledge that we have seems to kind of disappear out the window, and we just revert back to, I want to lift more. I want to lift more. And it is important to have people around you that are like, right, rein you back in, save it. Today's not the day to be going flat out. I've got, the amount of clients are like, I want to lift more. It's like, no, we've got, you're looking to peak at a certain time. And that's something
I think what you're saying there is very true, because I think that's where programming and planning is very, very important. You can just go into training blindsided and go, "I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do that today." That's brilliant. Do you know what? And when you're first starting and you want to do that, that's fine. But I think when you start moving up the ladder a little bit more, and you've got to start looking after your body, you've got to know how to peak. You've got to know how your body's going to respond to certain exercises. Like, I give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, I done a 302 kilo good morning for reps. 2 weeks later, mate, I am still absolutely in bits, and I've had to do some pretty rough deadlift sessions since then. So, like, I know this myself for my own body. Like, I can't carry on doing things like that all the time. It's just stupid. You're going to put your back out. There's no doubt about it.
There's no benefit to it. That's the thing. If you've got a competition coming up that has a 300 kilo good morning in it, that's a different, sometimes you get some weird strongman events. Like, I don't particularly like doing like rack pulls, for instance. I don't really, see the point, especially people that just put on more weight just because they can lift more than from the floor. But if you have an 18-inch deadlift in a competition, then it's about peaking on that event. And that's, I think too many people, especially ones that are trying to get to competition, they'll go to the gym, they're feeling great, and they're like, I'm going to push it today. But the knock-on effect of that 2-3 weeks later is huge. And you'll get guys like, they'll go to the competition and they'll be like, oh, I did a 200 kilo log 3 weeks ago. I can't understand why I'm only hitting 170, 180 today. Your central nervous system is fucked from that.
It's fried. It's pure fried. And I think you'll know that from experience, myself. I think when you build a rapport with certain clients, you understand everyone's got a certain threshold. So I could easily give Ben 3 shoulder sessions a week and he wouldn't blink an eyelid. But if I try and get Ben to do one deadlift session, going straight into squats the next day, vice versa, that isn't happening. Yeah. Impossible. It's the same with him. He can't do 2 or 3 heavy deadlift sessions in a row. He needs 1 and he needs 2 lower to go back up. And it's just how it happens. And it's the same with myself. I could easily deadlift 3 times a week. I've done in the past where I've had deficits, mixed grip, and then a snatch grip, 3 different days. And I've hit 340 on every single one of them. No problems at all.
Yeah.
But if you try and make me do a front squat session, I need 3 weeks after one of them because my knees are battered.
Yeah.
Regardless, even if I've got wraps on, like, there's only so much torture your body can endure, I think. And I think a good example of that I've spoken to recently was Matthias, and do you know what? It breaks my heart when I was speaking to him. He was on about his hip and stuff, and I think
Oh, you talking about Belsac?
yeah,
He's a lovely guy.
Yeah, and he's such a sound bloke. But you see him at his age at 28, it made me sort of really realise, like, as well as he has done in the sport, because he's phenomenal, he's a great athlete.
He's a great athlete.
And I also looked at that myself and I thought, do you know what? He's a great example for people to learn from.
Yeah.
Because he's done so well and he's pushed himself and everything. But he said he was his own worst enemy, basically, where like he knew he had a problem for a good year or two and he just kept pushing through it. And I think if anyone can learn anything from that, is sometimes it's okay thinking about short term, but your future has to be, you've got to think long term. Strongman is about longevity and not about living for the now. You know what I mean? If you've got goals to do well in this sport, try and make sure it's over a long period of time. Progressively get better. Yeah. Don't absolutely knacker your joints in for no reason, because 99% of people who are going to do this sport, mate, are not going to make a living out of it. And I don't mean to be horrible saying that.
It's true. 100% true.
You know, and like, if that's going to affect, like I don't want to be running around with my kids when Nancy's 10 and Frank's 15, 16 and I can't move. You know what I mean? I don't want that, but I still want Strongman to be a massive part of my life. But you've still got to do it slowly and progressively and let your body naturally do it its own way. It's all right thinking, right, I'm going to put 40 kilos on this today, right? And then you might never do that again for a year or 2 years. Why? Because you've absolutely knackered yourself. You threw your back out and you snapped a hamstring off. That's going to take you back 6 months. And then you have to do another 6 months recovery.
Yeah.
And it just ends up this big knock-on effect. And if I could give anyone any advice starting out in this sport, is just enjoy it and take your time. There's no rush. For example, you do not have to get to World's Strongest Man by the time you are 25 years old. If you get there when you're 38, it makes no difference. You're there. Do you know what I'm saying? I think too many people try.
I think a great example of that, and you know, he won't mind me bringing him up because I'm good friends with him, is Kevin Nee. Kevin Nee is the youngest guy to ever get to World's Strongest Man, but by the time he was 24, his career was done.
I watched a podcast of him, man.
You know, and he is such a lovely, lovely human being, but he fucked himself up. You know, and he just pushed it a little bit too hard, a little bit too soon, and he ended up in a position where he was struggling with injuries. He was struggling mentally because of that. And this kid that at 19 years old had the whole, you know, people were saying he's going to be the future of strongman. He's going to win. By 24, he was finished. And, you know, I would rather be the guy that takes longer to get there and just keeps improving, keeps getting better. Because you look at Mark Felix. Mark Felix has been at World's Strongest Man, 15 times now?
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You know, Kevin Nee and Mark got to his first Worlds at 37, something like that. You know, maybe even later. It might have been 38. I'm not sure. Kevin Nee was there at his first at 19. He ended up doing 4 or 5 and made 1 final. Whereas Felix had been at 15. He's made like 4 or 5 finals. It's you know,
it's unbelievable, because I think the wear and tear this sport has on your body is phenomenal. And like, you'll know for yourself, like, sometimes injuries do happen. Freak injuries can happen. Sometimes
injuries happen, especially now, how heavy it is.
Yeah, it just happened. You can't do nothing about it. Like, it was Derek Poundstone with his back problems. As a runner, didn't his tear, was it his trap off doing a York or something stupid?
Yeah, he had like nerve issue, I think.
Yeah, and it knocked all his neck. And like, when you're with that bail talk was something stupid, like 700 kilos or something. It was something mental. So when guys are doing those kind of weights, it's going to take its toll. And it's the same for like the lighter guys and the lighter women. Like, you imagine someone who's, I'll give you an example, 100 kilo running 1,000 pound yoke. Oh God, the impact that has on your body on a smaller frame.
Yeah,
that's the same as, for example, a bloke who's 200 kilo with like 600 kilo on his back. It sort of compare it, sort of.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where I think you've got to sort of learn your body, learn to take things slow, and for God's sake, get some speed on events instead of just thinking about heavy weights and plodding along. That's
I do think people have sort of been confused by strongman, because strongman has always been about moving with weights.
Mm-hmm.
It's been about strongman. The best way for me to explain it, when you go right from the start, is about being the best all-round strength athlete.
Totally
You
agree.
need to be able to lift massively heavy weights. You need to be able to move with heavy weights. You need to be able to throw things. You need to be able to do a multitude of things. You need a good skill set. You don't just need to be really, really good at one heavy lift. And I think people are kind of looking at strongman thinking, oh, but this guy bench pressed, 300 kilos, just for example, he's not as strong as him. It's a different sport. For those that want to focus just on one lift, go and do that. But don't then criticize the people doing strongman that is supposed to be a multitude of different events.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to the first World's Strongest Man competitions, they were 10 event competitions. And actually they were throwing a tire, so but it was coming from, they were looking at weightlifters, they were looking at wrestlers, they were looking at powerlifters, they were looking at track and field athletes, and trying to create a sport that was still athletic, but about being strong. And we've evolved. Obviously now we lift some ridiculous weights, and it makes me laugh because people say strongman's light now. Go back and watch some of the old shows. I remember watching a World's Strongest Man with 90 kilos farmers walks in it.
Yeah.
That's numbers the 90-kilo guys would just laugh at now.
I know, and it's one of those things, though, but like if you look back in it years ago, when Sven Carlson, when he had like a world record log at, like, was it 175 or something like that?
185. I remember, or 180 actually. I think no, 185 he did, and then Hugo Girard took it to 186.
Yeah, so you look at that. Are you going to look at that and go, well, it was light back then? You go, no, because those are the times when it was evolving. Like, so it's like saying Pele wasn't a good footballer because he wouldn't be able to do it now. He wouldn't be able to score that many goals. Yeah, but at the time, that's what it was. So yes, he was absolutely unbelievable. Mike Tyson couldn't beat Tyson Fury. Now when you go, mate, you've got two completely different eras of sport where what happens is people set standards, and how do you get better? People have to increase those standards. That's how sports evolve.
A great example of that is Bill Kazmaier. Bill Kazmaier set the log record, 170 kilos.
Was this? You got to remember when they were doing logs back then. You might have got a piece of wood, and it was 169 on one side and 1 kilo on the other.
Sure. And he'd never touched the log before. Now we all have nice kit that we practice on week in, week out. Bill Kazmaier, when he was in the gym, if you compare lifting on the same weights and same bars that Bill did, if any of us went and did that now, very few of the guys would be stronger than Bill Kazmaier.
No chance. Bill Kazmaier and Mark Henry are ridiculously strong human beings. Like,
you love Mark Henry, don't you?
Mate, do you know why I love Mark Henry? Because he's cool. He's just a cool dude, isn't he?
He's awesome. He's ridiculously strong. Obviously, people are kind of confused. They think he won World's Strongest Man. He never competed in World's Strongest Man, but he won the first ever Arnold Classic. And I think he was the first guy to clean and press the Thomas Inch dumbbell with one hand.
Ridiculous. He was Olympian.
Yeah, Olympic weightlifter, a powerlifter.
World-class powerlifter.
I think he deadlifted 420 kilos, something like that.
Ridiculous. He's kind of like an athletic Ray Williams, should we say?
Go on then. Tell me your top 5 strongest guys of all time.
Who I think are the strongest.
Yeah, who do you think are the strongest? We'll have a little...
So I hope I don't get rinsed because of this, because I put strength in this whole kind of like bubble of all-round strength athletes.
Sure.
The strongest, greatest strongman of all time and strength athlete of all time is Adrunas Savickas, hands down, full stop. There's no argument with it. Titles, records, how many years he's done it over, the way he conducts himself as a person. I think he is the absolute top of any sport.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, right. 100%.
I'm also going to throw in there Donna Moore, because I think what she's done for female strongwomen is ridiculous. And I think, once again, the records, the titles speak for themselves, and how she conducts herself is absolutely amazing. I'm not just saying that because she's my friend. I'm also would like to just throw in there, Andrea is also on the same level in my opinion, because she's an absolute animal. She's like, come on, the log and deadlift record at the same time, world's strongest woman. She's up there with Donna as well.
I think it's pretty cool that we have so many great female athletes in the UK right now.
Ridiculous. And I'm going to have to throw in there Mariusz Budzianowski. I think for an all-round strength athlete for his era, there's a reason why he's called the Dominator. We can talk about ifs and all that as much as we want. We could have a 5-hour conversation and arguments 2 and 4 against that. And I know a lot of people will disagree because of numbers and all this, but at the end of the day, for someone, didn't he win a World's Strongest Man one time by like 20-something points?
2003, probably. It's like Bill Kazmaier has the biggest gap in points, but when Bill won, there was more events.
Yeah.
So I think the most dominating performance ever, when you look at individual placings in each event, has to be Mariusz in 2003.
Yeah, so for me, Mariusz, especially the 2007 Mariusz with the blonde hair, for me, that was me watching Strongman going, what is this Hercules doing? Because he literally just flew with
That's when he was notoriously weak at the fingers, and he came back and just smashed them.
Mate, we know he had one of them in his back garden. He used to flip it 50 times a night.
Not far off. I spoke to him about it. He was like, I literally trained it 3 times a week. It was like,
Yeah, he's one of those people, I think, he does not like being beaten. I can't imagine he takes that very well in the slightest.
So, I don't believe Mariusz was ever the strongest man on the planet.
No, definitely not.
But he is without question one of the most determined.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people get mixed up with being what strongman is, like we've got on it, about what is the strongman? Is it the strongest man? Yes, it is, but it's the strongest man on the day and at the competition and what events you're given.
I personally think 2002 and then 2003 Mariusz, no one can argue he was the absolute best in the world then. He was dominating shows. 2004, he got beat by Zydrunas and Vasil. And then obviously there was the split. So it's a shame we didn't see more battles between them because Zydrunas improved slowly, whereas Mariusz was on the scene quicker. It would have been great to see a couple more battles between them. I think we were sort of robbed of those. But
yeah,
whatever you say about Mariusz, he is without question one of the greatest strongmen of all time.
I totally agree. And then I'm going to throw in there, from my own perspective, I think is the greatest all-round strength athlete of all time. And he always will be, and you can argue with me much as you want, because I don't care, is Mikhail Koklayev. He's just sort of like the guy growing up, I always thought, how do you do these weird things? Like, who squats 310 kilo with no hands for one? You ever watch that video where he'd done a seminar in Glasgow and he deadlifted 400 for reps, done a 270 behind the neck jerk, a hang snatch, and all this sort of, and it was like all in one day, basically just showing off.
Some of the stuff he did was just unbelievable.
Yeah, and high level weightlifting, 8-time Russian weightlifting champion, 3rd at World's Strongest Man, 2nd at the Arnold Classic, and blah blah blah. And you think like, and that's a guy who even said on your podcast, he didn't really take strongman seriously. He done it for a bit of money, and he used to just turn up with a spare t-shirt, his weightlifting shoes, and a belt. Like
he is such a talented athlete. He's an interesting one for me. Like I did a list of best guys never to win, and I didn't put him on there. And it wasn't because he wasn't a great athlete, because like you say, the stuff he does is incredible. But I think it was that he didn't take strongman seriously.
Yeah, no, totally agree.
I think if he took strongman seriously, he would have won at least one World's Strongest Man title, if not, maybe an Arnold's title, a few others. The sad thing was he was so passionate about Olympic weightlifting. And then, unfortunately, there was things going on behind the scenes that stopped him being able to represent. But
I think with him,
unbelievable athlete.
I think with him, I think the reason why he's so special for me is because I think if you take that enjoyment away from him, what he enjoys, you haven't got Mikhail Koklayev. I think if you put that serious head on him, I think that takes away his whole persona, because he's a showman at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what he's all about. And I've also got to throw in there, just for the simple fact, it's Derek Poundstone for me. I think sheer man mountain, like anything is kind of possible with Derek. Like if you have a half decent weight for reps and you're going against him, you've got to look at it and go, oh no, please. Like I spoke to Dan Hipkiss about this the other day, and it was, is there a more iconic in, I wouldn't say recent history, in the past 10, 15, 20 years, Derek Poundstone lifting the Louis C. Stone when Zydrunas was already 41, just laughing, like basically going, and you just see him go, oh no. And he loaded it. That Fortissimus for me is the ultimate like strongman image I have in my mind of what strongman is.
Derek again, just another unbelievable athlete, and the mindset. That's what separates so many of these greats, is that mindset.
Mm.
It's their determination. You see it with, we can talk about like the Thors and Eddies and stuff like that, but all the greats that we've had in the sport, there's that inner belief that they're capable of doing something that other people can't. And they haven't been afraid to fail.
No, you
You
can't
know,
be.
the amount of time.
Michael Jordan's very famous for saying that sort of stuff. Like, you've got to fail. It's part of the process. And I think with this new breed of strongmen we've got coming through at the moment, I think when you've got likes of like Kiliskovsky is a Terminator. I don't care if you're having a bad day, he is literally gonna just wipe you out. You've got Novikov who's come through, and then we've got Tom, and so I'm just using them three as an example right now because I think them three over the next 5 years is going to be really interesting. And obviously not forgetting Lissis and JF and all them guys who are absolutely phenomenal. And we've got some amazing British athletes.
It's tough, isn't it? Because like you sort of you get fixated on a few names, but then you're sort of like, well, there's this guy and there's this guy, and it's tough. But the fact is the pool of athletes right now, in terms of depth, is incredible.
Yes.
Who knows what we're going to see in 10 years' time from I mean, there's going to be guys out there that are inspired by these new guys that 5-10 years' time are going to come on the scene and be unbelievable. The sport keeps progressing. It's exciting times.
I think it's exciting, but it's not. I think because the sport's growing in the sense of like us jumping on board and things like that, and actually starting to like promote the sport for the athletes. They make a massive deal about the athletes.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think for strongman to grow at a professional level, I think you've got to put those athletes on the pedestal and show them off and go, this is this guy. For example, like even like the likes of like Irvin Toots and that, give him a platform. Do you know what I mean? The guy's from from a smaller country and things like that, and not many people might not know him. Give that guy a platform and give him a chance. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that. That's what I love about strongman, because I'm sorry, I get a little bit carried away with it.
I love it.
I always say this to people. We are in a sport where we all encourage each other. Mate, if me and you are going to go against each other, you want to beat me, I want to beat you. At the end of the day, we laugh about it and say, well done, pal, that was absolutely awesome. Cheers for the race.
100%.
I'm going to get you next time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, even if you just drop someone a message, hey, mate, I'm from such and such. Do you know where there's any strongman gyms? 9 times out of 10, someone's going to point you in the right direction to the right person or somewhere to go. And I absolutely love that about the sport.
It's great. I think the fact that it's still a niche sport. We've seen the growth. It's getting better, but it's still a niche sport. It's not like mainstream or anything like that. It's growing. We've got to keep pushing it to grow. Hopefully, people will enjoy the stuff that we're doing on here. I know you're doing it on your Instagram page, talking to different athletes, trying to get them seen by more people, because we have some great characters. You are genuinely a great character, and I think one good thing about having yourself on is it starts to show people the different weight classes, because you mentioned Donna and Andrea earlier. They're great characters as well, and you see in sports like the UFC where Conor McGregor is the most popular fighter. He's not a heavyweight.
No, he's not. No, he's not. And the thing is, I think in sport you've got to put yourself out there, and it's not about saying, "Look at me." It's like, look at the sport which I do, and I love this sport, and I want you to enjoy this. I'm not preaching to say that you should enjoy it, but if you get 5 more viewers watching World's Strongest Man or Ultimate Strongman or, oh, there's Ben. Ben's from Darlington, that little town. He's on telly this weekend.
Yeah.
2 households watching that, and that might draw someone in to go, do you know what? I might be able to do that. And then they go and join the gym and start training. That's all it takes. There's daft little things which can make such a difference.
Yeah, 100%. And then hopefully we will have the money in the sport that a lot more people can make a living from it. Because like you said at the start, the handful, it is literally a handful of people that make money from this sport. If you can't enjoy it, if you can't sort of give back to it, I think you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Totally. That's my personal opinion. I know you think very similar to me, but I think there's too many people. I got guys that they're like, oh, it's not, I really hated training today. I'm miserable. But if that's how you feel, stop. Seriously, stop, because there's going to be times in this sport that it does feel hard and it does hurt. And, if you get an injury, it sucks.
oh mate, it's awful. But
But you can come back from it.
oh man, and I think I've had this conversation so many times with people when they're like, "Oh, this isn't going right. Oh, this feels awkward, right? So what do we do about it then?" I don't know. You tell me. Well, what we do is we address the problem. Why are you not happy? Why is that lift not going well? Oh, I know what it is. You don't like doing yoke, so you're not trying. Is that what it is? Yeah, because I guarantee if I put a deadlift bar in front of you or a silver dollar deadlift, you'll attack it all day long and you don't care. Put as much effort into your weak events as what you do in your strong events. You'll be very surprised the outcome that will come of it.
Yeah.
I said it to one of my mates tonight. He doesn't like farmers. He's got a competition coming up in the Masters. And I went, oh, you know what fight day it is tomorrow? He went, what? I went, farmers. He went, turn that frown upside down. I said, I want you to start loving this. I want you to know every time we're doing a grip and a farmer's day, you're going to go, do you know what? I can't wait to do this because I'm shit at it and I'm going to get better at it. And I think if...
Do you think with social media, we've all become a bit too sort of worried about what other people think?
Listen, like people are scared to, like, for example, oh, I'm doing a deload today. I'm doing 60 kilo for 5 sets of 5. Oh, well, that's not impressive, is it? It's not about...
I've done training. I do like a 140 bench. Say I was benching 140 for sets of 8 the other day. All right. I'm a pro. Oh, I was a pro strongman. 140 is pretty shit for a pro strongman, but it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if at least it's just me being honest, putting a training session in. You know, I've benched 230 in a competition, and I openly, quite happily tell people I'm not a great bencher. I've worked hard at it, got it better. Still, I enjoy getting a bench PB more than a yoke PB because for me, bench has always been hard.
It's like you've earned your stripes when you get those extra 2 kilos on, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, the stuff that comes easy, it's a bit more like, well, you know, I was always good at that. So it's nice to get good at the things you're not so good at.
And I had these issues for a long time with squatting and stuff, and I just couldn't get my head around unracking over 260 kilo because I would honestly, mate, I'd get scared. And I'm not like that as a person. Like, I think, you know, it's like when you're approaching some, like, you go over 180 and overhead press, you know that's going to be heavy. But if you approach that bar thinking it's going to be heavy, bet you're fucking right it's going to feel heavy in your hands. But if you approach that bar and you go, right, warm-ups are snappy, let's attack it. You attack those weights. Those weights feel like nothing in your hands on a good day. But on the bad days, they do feel heavy. So you've just got to crack on.
Have you ever like, especially with strongman kit, like farmer's walk are a great example of that. I'm good at farmer's walk. I love farmers in competition. I hate moving farmers in the gym. When you've got a sort of, you're getting the farmers out for a client or something like that, you know, ours are about 60 or 70 kilos empty. They feel so heavy to me. But yet when I'm in the right mindset, I can make them, you know, 200 kilos feel easy.
Mate, I've got a Conan's wheel, right? And it comes in like 5 different parts. And if that's ever anywhere near me, I automatically get stressed because I know I've got to set it up. So I've got to get the Conan's wheel out. I've got to make sure it's in a perfect position outside of my gym, because if it's not in the perfect position, I run into a bollard. Then I've also got to get 300 kilos worth of plates from inside the gym to load onto the Conan's wheel so it doesn't come up off the floor, and then get another 200 or 300 kilos worth of weight on the thing itself. So 45 minutes later, you're sweating and you've got a bad back.
Yeah. Oh man, that's brilliant.
I don't want to do it no more.
I can see you sweating just thinking about it now.
I'm stressed. I'm probably stressed thinking about
it. Mate, we finally had a bit of good news from Boris last night. Don't know if you watch the news at all, but it looks like we're sort of working towards ending all of the lockdown and stuff. So are you looking forward to any events happening this year? Is there like competitions that you've got lined up or
so me
events?
Personally, this year is me getting to a comfortable weight over 100 kilos. I've held 100 kilos once for 3 days before, and I've never been able to get to it since. I'm sitting at 99 kilos now. I've got some big targets in mind. I'm on this program at the moment where I'm building towards a 400 kilo deadlift in the next 12 weeks. That's going to be in the gym, which is fine. I can accept that. That's what I want to hit. The goal for next year is to pull a 420 at 105. And I also want to push the British log record. Tommy Bet has it. It's 177 or 178. I want to try and see if I can hit a 180 plus. And then next year, I want to go to Arnolds, South Africa or Brazil. That's one of the couple of targets I have. And the year after, I'm going to consider going to Australia. But the big goal is becoming a better all-round strength athlete, so I can mix it with the best of the 105s, and whatever happens in competition happens. As long as I just want to turn up like I did at the 90s, when people know you're going to get a tough day if I'm competing against you. Because I've gone past the point in my life now where I think, I need to win this trophy. I need to win this trophy. For me, it's just turning up, trying to hit some PBs and putting people on the toes, thinking, right, Dale's coming, I better be on my game, otherwise he's going to snap me up. That's all I want. I just want to be the best version of myself possible. As for promoting shows, I'm running Britain's strongest man under 120 kilo. It was tried a few years ago. I'm trying to bridge the gap between 105s and opens.
I think that's a great weight class.
Me too. And I think we have plenty of people. The goal for it is, I want to put one show on and organize it to the point where I've already got some good sponsors on board, like a men's strength and things like that, and they're making me some trophies, they're giving me some kit for it. I'm just trying to showcase that weight class, because I think if, for example, Ben Kelsey was a prime example. He was an amazing strongman, but he just couldn't really get the weight on to compete as a heavyweight, even though he was phenomenal.
Amazing under 105.
Yeah.
Great athlete, but just not big enough when it came to, say, like world level.
Yeah, so like, who knows if I can get a few people on board. I've got a Mark Cherry down south. I need to find someone for the Midlands, and if I can eventually start putting on qualifiers for an England's and a Britain's under 120s, it's something I'm going to try and build over the next 5 years.
I think it could be a real popular class. There's a lot of guys sort of around the 100 to 120 sort of mark that they can fluctuate, but they can't get up to heavyweight.
No, I think it's a big jump though, mate, because being 120 kilo as a heavyweight strongman is very light. Personally, 140 kilo strongman these days is light. Your class is light. Like Ben's 137, and these classes like a light heavyweight. And I stand next to him and I think, you're not light. But then I stand next to you and I go, yeah, you are light, Ben. Skinny.
And I'm not even big, so
and then the other end of the scale, you stand next to Tom and Gav, and then you go, oh my God, what's happening here? Where have these come from?
Tom's getting bigger and bigger.
Monstrous.
He's looking humongous.
He's absolutely massive. It's like Gav when you stand and talk to Gav and you actually put him on a pedestal. You go, wow, you are a big bloke. I want to play rugby against you ever.
He's doing brilliant, Gav Bilton. He's doing
Gav's
really
coming
well.
along, mate. I've explained to a few people, the keys for Gav is to take it to that next step, the giant step, the world step. You've got to be fast. You've got to be fit. And I always say this to people at whatever level they're competing at. You lose 1 second in a moving event, you can be down 4 or 5 places, no problem. You could have 5 of us on 20.1, 20.3, 20.5. If you're on that 20.9, you've just lost 5 points in an event. It's so important to be sharp. Static strength is not a problem for Gav. He's not going to have a problem with logging, axle pressing and deadlifting, really. They aren't his weak areas.
Yeah.
The weak areas are becoming a little bit more conditioned, being a bit lighter on the feet. And do you know what? What I love about him, he actually really does just love training and he enjoys it.
You can tell Gav enjoys it.
Oh, he does, mate. Honestly, he takes competition very serious, and I love that because he's got that snap to him. But at the same time with training, he just embraces everything you ask him to do. He tries everything. Like, remember the first session I had him doing bar hangs. He's 200 kilos. And he sent me going, bro, I've just hung from the bar there for like 20 seconds. That was hard.
Of course it's hard. That'd be like you strapping 100 kilos to yourself.
Oh, man, I know. And like, he just embraces everything and he's like a sponge. He listens. Yeah. But also, he's like a really good guy to train because he wants to get better. It's so easy to give people a plan. But if they don't want to execute that plan and benefit it for themselves, I could pay you as much money as you wanted. But if I can't be asked doing the plan you're sending me, I'm not going to get anywhere because you have to put the effort into it. You know what I mean? Me and you can lay a foundation out for anyone. But if they don't follow the foundation and trust the process of your coach, it's never going to work.
This is something that I think we're seeing more of as well. You know, people are... did you ever have a coach?
I have never had a coach until the past 2 weeks. Dan Ipkiss has took me on.
Cool.
And it's the first time, apart from when I was fighting, that I've ever had a coach. And I think it's now got to the point where I just want to go, right, I train that many people. I need a foundation. I thought, you know what?
I think it works. I've had a couple of people coach me in the past. I had my brother coached me quite a bit, and for a powerlifting comp, I got the Australian strength coach Bass to coach me. Both of them great coaches, but you're a great coach yourself. I consider myself a good coach. When you're coaching a lot of people, when it comes to your own training,
Oh,
it is quite nice to, when you've got to this kind of level, it's nice to not think about your own training and also just have another pair of eyes to look at things. Because like I said earlier, sometimes when it comes to ourselves, we revert back to, I want to lift that bit more. And, sometimes you just need someone to rein you back in and keep you level headed, and just having that experience. I've certain clients, just having the experience that I've had competing in so many big competitions can be very, very useful. You've got that experience now competing all over the world. It can be, because someone like Gav has not got a huge amount of experience.
no.
Incredible potential there, but just having that calmer head behind him and just showing him a few weaknesses that he's got.
That things was like how to wrap your knees properly. How'd you do that? And I'm like, you can't be serious. Have you got any super glue in your strongman bag?
It's
Why would I-
amazing how little some incredibly strong people know.
Why have you just got one bag of sweets on you? Why have you drunk enough water? Yeah, I've got a Red Bull. Right. So, next competition we go. Right, I'm going to stay in a hotel room with you, and I'm basically going to be your mum. I do it with Ben. Have you got this? Have you got that? Right. The
Drink
event's
this,
off
eat
2
this,
hours.
sleep now.
Yeah, right. I'm going to switch all the lights off in the room. I'm going for a walk for an hour. My headphones in. Don't leave the room. Relax.
Yeah.
Oh, can I come with you? No, you can't come with me.
Yeah.
You switch off. Get off your phone.
Yeah.
Stop talking to your girlfriends. Stop talking to your friends. You need your own time. Put some music on. Get in the zone for me, please. Come back an hour later. I feel better for that. I'm like, yeah, of course you do, because I think sometimes you're this big ball of energy up to a competition. It's like you get this sort of like strange feeling. You know what I mean? And I think you get a little bit of butterflies. Oh, what's going to happen? Oh, that event's first. Oh, I don't like that event.
I think lots of people are different. I've seen some people where they put the towel over their head and they don't want anyone, and they can burn themselves out. And I think you get other people that are better off. Certain athletes are capable of just switching on,
Yeah,
and then switching back off.
yeah.
Some people just can't switch off. So those type, you need to, keep them controlled, stop them burning up too much energy. But I think everyone's different. But just having that extra pair of eyes, that little bit of extra knowledge, can help so much when it comes to, especially big events.
Someone having your back as well helps. Someone actually gives a fuck about you who's there. So,
Yeah.
for example, if an event doesn't go too well, here, get your head up. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah,
I'll ask you something as a coach, because this is something I find. I find I'm a better coach the more I get to know my athletes.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Too true. I think sometimes you have to go through certain experiences with an athlete. Like, I'm not saying something bad's got to happen, or they've had like a certain like setback in the training, or like something's happened in their life, or things haven't went on a nice straight road. And I think once you start getting to know someone personally and understanding what makes them tick and what doesn't make them tick, like, I'm not the type of coach who will stand behind you going, "Come on, 5 reps, let's go." I'm not that. I'm the type of person who, if I was training you, I'd be stood back and I'd just be watching you. And if I need to tell you something, I'll tell you. But if you've done something good, I'll go, "That was all right, well done, spot on."
Yeah.
I'm a lot more calm in that. I might come across a bit like, "Whoa," all the time, but as a coach, especially in competitions, I'm very like standoffish in the sense of, "Do you need anything? You know where I am. You just let me know. Right? Have you got this? Have you got that? How's it going?" And like, I think you've got to know how people tick in the mind. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't do well with people being in my face when I'm competing. I like to be relaxed and have a talk.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not the kind of person that needs a slap or anything like that, or all this kind of crazy loud music and stuff. Just leave me to focus in the zone. It works best.
Do not walk in front of me as I'm walking up to a bar. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like it. If someone walks in front of me, I just go, "I'm ready to go there, you bugger."
So have you just told everyone how to beat you in a comp now?
Yeah, walk in front of me. Yeah. Have you got? Oh, you've got 2 odd socks on. Have I? I've got a few competition rituals as well. I've got a couple of pairs of shorts that I wear for the log. I've got a pair of black bad boy joggers with a big massive hole where my gooch is, and I won't throw them away. I've got a pair of red Under Armour shorts and a pair of grey ones, and I can't go nowhere without them. Like Michael Jordan on Space Jam. I need my lucky shorts.
So many people are like that.
Honestly, I do. I have to. And if I'm ever doing a log, I've got this weird thing. My belt goes in the middle, my chalk goes on the right, my wrist wraps or sleeves go on the
It's
left.
so funny. It's something I really, when I'm doing the commentary,
Weird.
I really notice it. Everyone has their little weird rituals that they go through,
Yeah,
and you watch them, and it's the same every time. And
it
it's
is.
that practice of and routine and months and years of training. And if you take them out of it, it can throw them.
Yeah, gum shield over the ear, has to be over the ear. Can't have it anywhere else. It's got to be over my left ear. And I don't know why, but I always find I do it as well, all the time, no matter
That's
where
hilarious.
I am. Yeah, and then pre-comp as well, I always like to have a sauna as well. Night before, not a mental one where I'm sweating, where I'm going to deplete everything. I mean, like a nice 10 minutes, go for a little swim, dip in the jacuzzi, and it gets me off to sleep.
Awesome, mate. Well, mate, I've taken up enough of your time tonight. Very, very quickly, if people want coaching from you, where can they go?
3D Strength on Instagram. That's the best way. Just send me a message. I'll reply to everyone.
So we will put Dale's Instagram, so 3D Strength on Instagram.
Yeah.
Awesome. We will make sure that's in the link. Make sure you go check out Dale's page. He's talking to a lot of various different strongmen right now on there. It's going well.
Very varied. Very varied. It's really
It's
funny.
great though. It's great. I think I started doing these sort of the first lockdown, and I really enjoyed it. And like more and more people are doing them, and just exposing new athletes to people. It's good that I think we're all working together to try and help promote the sport. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a good like in a circle thing where like I'm trying to drag people in to say, do you want to do a little talk? And of course, I know some people don't actually like talking.
Yeah.
But if listening to someone's story, I love starting with a question. Then it says, how did you start training? Not strongman. How did you start training? I love how everyone's got their own little thing how they started training, and then the conversations just seem to just flow.
I knew talking to you, we've probably gone on way too long, and there's probably no one watching now. But I knew we just both love strongman, so we'd probably sit and talk for another 5 hours. But I've got to stop it because I know we're both busy people, and hopefully I want people to enjoy watching this. But
of course,
we'll definitely have you back on again, mate. It's been lovely to chat to you. Always is. All the best with everything this year, and hopefully once things improve, I can come up and see you for a training session.
1,000,000%. Thank you for having me on, Loz, mate. I really appreciate it.
Guys, make sure you go and check out Dale 3D Strength on Instagram. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Comment below. Let me know who else you'd like to see, and we'll be back with more Talking Strongman soon. Take it easy. While you're here, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my awesome strength content.